This free video is brought to you by the Team Topologies Academy. Our goal is to help organizations become more effective and more humane. If you find this video helpful, we would love for you to check out and recommend our Academy content. Let's now cover some common obstacles and anti-patterns we see when kickstarting enabling teams. Ignoring this may slow down or even compromise the creation of effective enabling teams in the organization. One of the most common obstacles we see is having enabling teams that started in a bottom-up fashion that does not achieve top-down support. Although this is how it often starts, with enthusiastic pioneers who become enablers and show the value of enabling teams, it becomes quite challenging when executives and leaders in the organization don't support them. And this can manifest in multiple ways. For example, executives blocking people from working on enabling teams, since that prevents them from working on product features, especially at critical times. Or they might cut funding and even lay off some experts as they are not working on streamlined teams and, well, they're typically more senior and more expensive. The outcome is that teams that would benefit from enabling teams' help end up spending much more effort and time on challenges for which they currently lack adequate skills and knowledge. In the process, they're also likely introducing all sorts of accidental complexity in their work due to the shortcuts and suboptimal practices that they end up adopting. Now, suppose a large group of teams in the organization shares some common challenge, and each of them solves it in a different but equally suboptimal way. Then we quickly start to realize how much waste and complexity is generated within teams and across teams. That highlights how a lack of top-down support for enabling teams, sometimes they are even acting as antibodies, becomes an anti-pattern to improving the organization's fast flow of change. But don't worry too much. In the following section, we will share several ideas to highlight the impact of enabling teams in order to mitigate this kind of obstacle. Another obstacle or anti-pattern we see recurrently is the superhero enabling team. They're fixing things, they're doing complicated work for others, and this happens quite often. But the outcomes are not conducive to building effective enabling teams, because these teams work mostly as firefighters rather than facilitators of long-lasting, durable change in the organization. So they don't help the teams upskill and address their capability gaps. They help them fix or execute parts of their work because of those gaps. This means those teams that are being helped today won't be able to respond when faced with similar challenges in the future, which in turn leads to a continuous dependency on the superhero team to come in and save the day. So this is an anti-pattern for enabling teams that feels counterintuitive, because the firefighting work seems super valuable in that moment. But it is superficial in the sense that it doesn't leave a lasting impact on the team that was struggling. And an added problem that sometimes happens in this kind of situation is when the superhero teams also create some tools or software components that end up becoming critical for several teams, which leads to yet another anti-pattern, which is the superhero enabling team having to maintain those components indefinitely. This exacerbates the dependencies between streamlined teams and the superhero team. To be clear, it's totally fine and in fact expected for an enabling team to run proof of concepts, try out new tooling, and do preliminary investigation on new ways of doing things. But they need the discipline to identify when the proof of concept is becoming a live tool or component used by teams for their regular work. At which point, it's important to move such a tool or component under an internal platform, which has the right levels of service reliability, usability, and other quality attributes. In a later section, we will see how enabling teams can and should help co-evolve internal platform services. One last obstacle we often see is starting many initiatives simultaneously and, well, not finishing nearly as many. Or in other words, too much enabling work in progress. This triggers several adverse dynamics, including, first of all, lack of prioritization of the requests for help from the teams, meaning we might be working on low impact challenges and taking longer than we should to respond to high impact challenges. Secondly, we end up needing way more people in enabling teams, and they are often hard to find. And thirdly, we lose the ability to show the value and convince people of the importance of enabling teams. So, paying extra attention to avoid this anti pattern is fundamental. Because at first sight, the enabling teams are doing well. They're busy, they're growing, but it is essential to start small and stay small as long as possible and show the value to convince people of how crucial enabling teams are. We will be providing insights on how to address all of these obstacles in the following sections.